I have more difficulty getting my words out, that you can pinpoint as I start speaking gobbledygook or backwards, the words come out in the wrong place. Oh, I'll even say it. Oh, solar flare. And how is it, unless we're linked to the whole universe, how is it that people who are sensitive react at exactly the same moment that the sun releases that flare? You can't see it. Unless you're sitting looking at the Soho readout for the sun, you're not going to know precisely exactly when. But people are reacting to it. Now, I notice quite a lot of people reacting to solar flares without even knowing that that's what they're reacting to, because I know the signs from my own personal experience. I see people having really bad forgetful things. They can't remember words for something really obvious that like spoon or fridge or what have you. And it's just gone. You can't remember it. You know the word, but you just can't remember it. It's just totally gone for a second. I mean, it comes back later, and their memory's kind of messed about. And that happens at the same time. And I notice people also, if they are suffering from depression, when there's a big solar flare, these people get much more down. They suddenly get much more depressed, much more blue, and people who are kind of angry on a general basis become much more angry, much more aggressive. It really does seem to amplify a person's personality or the way they're feeling at that time. It's quite interesting to watch, actually, and read people and kind of see how they're reacting to things. I noticed that people close to me are affected by earthquakes. They have more stiff joints, aches and pains when we're building up for an earthquake. My father, actually, who had a stroke several years ago, he becomes much more vague when we have a solar flare, really, really forgetful about many, many things. Much more lost on those days when we have solar flares going on, and much more angry and slightly aggressive when we're building up for volcanic eruptions and earthquakes and that kind of energetic exchange on the planet. What I find is quite interesting, because it almost seems as if you could almost liken volcanoes and things to like the Earth having a solar flare as well. Now, is the Earth reacting to what the sun's given out? Yes, I think she does. But is the Earth actually reacting at the same time? Whatever triggers the solar flare within the sun, is it also triggering a kind of solar flare within the planet? Because quite often these things seem to happen simultaneously, not a couple of days or several hours later when the effect of the solar flare actually hits the planet. You also notice that it doesn't have to be a solar flare that can affect us. When you have a coronal hole facing the planet, that can also have the similar kind of effect to a solar flare, where you've got the stream of matter, energetic particles coming from the sun, which has a similar effect as a solar flare. All sorts of things, gamma radiation bursts out in space also seem to affect people. So it's quite interesting how much energy is affecting you on a daily basis just from the big picture, like the whole of the planet, the whole of the solar system, and the whole of the universe that's in our vicinity, that's directed at us. Because planetary alignments seem to affect not only the planet but us as well. And it's pretty obvious when you think about it, because we are a part of the energetic system of this planet. If I'm filtering energy for the planet, well, so's everybody else if they're not blocking it. We're all part of the energetic system of this planet, and I think many people forget that. You kind of hold yourself apart from the planet. You hold yourself apart from life around you because we are human beings. We label ourselves as different from the rest of life on this planet. But we forget we're not. We are an energetic physical being, or energetic biological being. the same as all other life. Okay, not crystalline life, but everything here is an energetic being of some form. Cats, dogs, sheep, cows, fish, birds, plankton. Things are affected. So what else is affecting you on a daily basis? Well, every person that you meet affects you to some extent. Their energy, what they're giving off, whether they're happy, they're sad, they're depressed, they're angry. You're kind of feeling that and sharing it with them, whether you want to or not. And then, of course, you have other things, other factors in your environment. You have power cables. You have the electricity inside your home. All of these things have an energetic field around them. It's quite interesting looking at electricity cables and seeing that the way the energy... all right, let me put it this way. When I look at a tree, I see a nice fuzzy energy around it. It kind of looks a bit like heat haze, which has, on a normal day when there's not like major upheavals on the earth going on, it's a nice, beautiful kind of rainbowy fuzz around a plant. When we get to spring, that fuzz gets much, much bigger, really shoots off the plants, and I kind of know, oh, spring's arrived, everything's going to start growing, because the energy gets really big at the top of the trees. The sap is rising, the energy's really pushing out, much, much bigger around plants and trees. But when I look at something like a signpost, I can see this kind of dirty brown fuzz around it, I guess, where it's rusting, and that rust is an energy in itself. It's the metal kind of being eaten, and it's giving off energetic particles, and I can see this in kind of like a dirty brown haze around a road sign. And when I get to electricity cables now, they're quite interesting. You have spiraling energy, quite often too. They kind of seem to go, I mean, in my head, they go in opposite directions. You'd have to register that yourself. But you get like a double spiral of spiky. It's almost like barbed wire to look at. That's the only way I can really describe it. Or tinsel, slightly sparse tinsel, a dirty black, brown, two pieces of tinsel winding around the cable with a little gap between the cable and themselves. So everything has its different energy signatures. And when we get to a big energy build-up on the planet, okay, spring, the things are big around the trees, but in general, when I look at the planet, when we're kind of building up for a large earthquake, the patterns around things change. And suddenly, instead of sort of being nice, bubbly, beautiful, fuzzy rainbows, there are lines. Vertical lines in things, real straight vertical lines, even in the trees' energy, the energy coming off the line, off the ground. It's these lines, and that's kind of a giveaway to me that something's coming. I mean, I have seen days when there are kind of like arches of energy coming out of the ground and going back in, quite tall arches of energy. That's slightly disconcerting. I think that's a combination of energies all transpiring. I mean, for all I know, because I've not got any apparatus to take physical readings, and I'm not sure whether any apparatus could take physical readings of some of the energies I see. But it could be bits of magnetic flux coming off the planet. I don't know, but you get these kind of loops, arches of energy coming off the planet, and I generally know that there's some fairly major upheaval about to happen somewhere, because they're fairly rare. I don't see that very often, but when I do, I kind of think, ooh, that's not good. That's not good at all. I don't know if you've ever been in an earthquake. There's plenty of people in several parts of the world that will have good experience of this, but we had a small earthquake here several years back. It was only about 3, but it was enough. Before it happened, I was wide awake, buzzing, I mean, you get a bit like that before an earthquake anyway. But it was really buzzing and I couldn't sleep. And I was actually sitting in bed reading next to my partner. And suddenly he was fast asleep and snoring. And the next moment he suddenly sat bolt upright and looked at me. And then we started to hear a rumble. And then the rumble increased. And then the house started to shake and vibrate. And goodness me, was the wow. You felt really charged up out of that. We were having a conversation and it was like we were so charged, and we just wanted to tell everybody about how mad that was. It was also similar in a way to being and experiencing the solar eclipse. What was that, 15 years ago?